All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, only 6 teams in the National Football League history have made the playoffs after beginning the season with a record of 0-3. And that is what the Miami Dolphins are currently facing. As after dropping their first 3 games of this season, the deck is now stacked against them. The surprising blowout loss that the Dolphins suffered in week number 1 at the hands of the Indianapolis Colts. And then their loss last Sunday at home to the New England Patriots, where Miami did everything in their power to lose that one. And then, of course, this past Thursday night, where the Dolphins showed that, yes, they can hang with the Buffalo Bills, but not when it mattered the most. So now Miami's 0-3, and they need to do something that has rarely been done in the NFL, which is to go on and dig themselves out of that 0-3 hole. For me, where's the sense of urgency in Miami? That's always going to be one of the answers right there. I know that they were more competitive against the Bills. I know that they were, competitive against the Patriots last Sunday. And honestly, it's one of those games. I know that Miami was favored at home, but I actually picked New England to go out there and win that game. It's one of those where another big question for me is, where's the leadership on this team? And at the end of the day, those are keys. And I simply don't see the leadership for this Miami team. Now, one could go out there and make the case that the Dolphins have gotten worse in each year under head coach Mike McDaniel. And you have to ask yourself, is Mike McDaniel the right head coach for this team? And honestly, I'm going to say no. Did he have immediate success with Miami? Yes, he got them to the postseason in each of their first 2 years. Um, but of course, each time around, Miami was one and done. I think with a guy like Mike McDaniel, first and foremost, he was brought in to be the guy to fix Tua Tagovailoa. But also on top of that, I look at him and I see a guy that he's not somebody who the players fear. Okay, it's one of those that's kind of like a big brother mentality with them, or maybe even a brother mentality with them. And it's one of those I simply don't see the respect and fear factor coming down from Mike McDaniel towards this team, and because of that, I just simply don't think that he is going to be the guy that could lead this Dolphins team to some success. Now, you look at this and you even ask, can the Dolphins win with this nucleus? And of course, when you think about the nucleus of this Dolphin squad, you think about, of course, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and then, of course, wide receivers Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And the answer is no. It's like I look at Miami right now. Um, it's kind of like what like this would be a great team if this was a video game that we're talking about. But of course, this is not a video game. This is a National Football League. The Dolphins are very finesse. They have talent, don't get me wrong. But again, I'm not sure if it's ever going to come together for this Dolphins core where we could mention them as far as, being among the upper echelon teams in the AFC in order to talk about them going out there and possibly contending for a Super Bowl. Now, some people might say, well, the Dolphins should go out there and have themselves a fire sale. Should they do that? I'm not going to sit up there and say that this team is going to ready to throw in the towel. Yes, they're 0-3. Okay, your season's not over. Theoretically, to give yourself a shot at the playoffs now, a legit shot. If you're Miami, you got to go out there and go 9-5 the rest of the way. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely. Is it doable? Yes. I think for the Dolphins, the biggest thing is let's see how they come out next Monday night at home against the New York Jets. Miami should be favored in that game. I'm not sure what's going to be the status of Jets quarterback Justin Fields. Of course, he's not playing today, when the Jets take on Tampa Bay. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor. But nonetheless, all of that aside, Miami is going to be well rested for that game at the very least. They played on Thursday night, and now you're coming back the following Monday night at home. Okay, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts, no excuses for that matter. Whereas not the Dolphins should be ready. They then follow that up with a game against the Carolina Panthers on the road before they come back and host the Chargers, and then in Week 7 they're on the road against the Cleveland Browns. So if you're Miami and you could come out of that stretch and say, you know what, you're possibly 3-4, you know what, you're right back in that mix. But if we look at it and say, hey, after that, after the first 7 games, if the Dolphins are 2-5 or if the Dolphins are 1-6, it's really, really going to be an uphill battle for them at that point. Some people are already asking, should the Dolphins move on from Mike McDaniel? Well, like I said before, I don't think Mike McDaniel is is the guy for this team going forward. And I don't think that the Dolphins under Mike McDaniel are going to get any more than they currently are. It's one of those where, you know what, possibly, very possibly, depending on how this season goes, we could see a new head coach and a new general manager in Miami next year. I look at it, and Chris Greer has been the Dolphins general manager since 2016. But to me, I feel like this franchise really hasn't gotten any better on his tenure. I look at it like this. I feel like Miami's best opportunity to go out there and do something with this team was 2023. Okay, we saw how this team was clicking at times, especially offensively. They had a solid defense. Now, in the former defense coordinator Vic Fangio, who is now with the Philadelphia Eagles, and you know what? It didn't come together when it needed to come together. Okay. So I look at it like this. I think any aspirations of the Dolphins getting any better with this core and with this coaching staff are out the window right now. So I think if they start over at the head coaching position for 2026, maybe Miami also does the same with their general manager. Like I said, it's one of those where I just simply do not see the leadership with this team. I don't see a sense of urgency with this team. And when you factor all of that up, you know what? These are basically the results that you're getting. Again, I want to see how the Dolphins, look against the Jets this Monday night. I think that is going to be very telling of how the season will play out the rest of the way for Miami. Nonetheless, I don't see them making a head coaching move here in the regular season unless things really get bad. If Miami's 0-7 or 0-8, absolutely. But nonetheless, anything more of that, I think Mike McDaniel is going to be the guy at least through the rest of this year. But nonetheless, the Dolphins have put themselves in a very early hole. And it's a very early hole that is very difficult to get out of. Typically, when teams try to get out of that hole, you've got to have the leadership in place. I don't see that leadership in place. The Dolphins also have to do a better job of running the football because they're one of the worst teams so far this season in the NFL in regards to running the football. Tua has to do a better job as far as protecting the football. He already has 4 interceptions so far this season to 5 touchdown passes. And of course, that critical, the last couple of weeks for that matter, he threw a critical interception late against the New England Patriots. And then, of course, that critical interception this past Thursday night against Buffalo. And of course, Miami was driving. They were down by a touchdown late. And of course, Buffalo was able to convert that turnover into a field goal, which gave them a 10-point lead late, which gave them the opportunity to salt the game away. So again, ball security, taking care of the ball, how much stock, do you put into it due to his ability and its inability, unfortunately, to stay healthy? The Dolphins got problems, okay? And again, you can raise the question where, from the standpoint that if they do decide to go in another direction at head coach for next year, would that mean the end for Tua's time in Miami? I'll tell you like this. If they get a new head coach coming in next year, and it's one of those where that head coach decides to move on from Tua, new head coach and GM, I'll tell you like this. I think that's when the fire sale would definitely happen. I wouldn't see them keeping a Tyreek Hill. I would see them maybe keeping a Jalen Waddle, but maybe not a Tyreek Hill, and allow him to go and continue his career in another NFL city. But again, like I said before, things are getting away from Miami very quickly in this NFL season. Do the Dolphins have what it takes to rebound and save their season? We're going to see. But nonetheless, like I said before, it all starts with Monday night against the Jets. I want to see how the Dolphins compete. I want to see how they attack things and get after it. But nonetheless, they really have an uphill battle ahead of them if they're going to turn this thing around. But nonetheless, fine folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. And the same goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can check us out at the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.